Do you want to know how to travel during COVID? In the past 12 months, I've traveled to 7 countries. And I really have learned, and I also would say mastered, the COVID travel. Today I want to give you the exact step-by-step process that I follow before I travel abroad. The first step is for you to decide whether you want to travel or not, because you have to understand that travel is not the same as it was 2 years ago. Pre-pandemic and post-pandemic travel are two very different things. It is not going to be the same experience, and it can be stressful. So you really have to make up your mind. Do I want to travel during this pandemic or not? Do I want to travel for leisure or work purposes, business purposes, study purposes, whatever? I do understand that a lot of people need to get to other countries because they have family abroad. But then there's also people that need to work, that study, or that just want to take a vacation. One really important thing to notice, many countries are not even open to tourists right now. We just don't have the same luxury and flexibility that we had before the pandemic started. So if you are 100% sure that you want to travel, that you can accept the cons of this pandemic, then you can move on to the next step, which is to figure out what you need in order to get into the country you want to travel to. Many countries don't allow international tourists to come to their country. They don't even allow local tourism. You really need to play by the rules, aka COVID restrictions. What do I mean by that? The first thing you want to do is you want to go to Google and check for your country entry requirements. So if you want to go to Mexico, search for Mexico COVID entry requirements or just Mexico entry requirements. Google will tell you what you need at this moment in time to enter Mexico. As of right now, you don't need anything to enter Mexico. You don't need a negative PCR test, you don't need to be vaccinated, neither do you need to quarantine upon arrival in Mexico. Some hotels and resorts may require you to fill out a health form, but that's about it. So Mexico is one of the few countries that does not enforce COVID restrictions on travelers. So you can travel to Mexico as a tourist, or you can travel to Mexico on business. It doesn't matter, the entry requirements are exactly the same. Let me give you another example. Let's say you're traveling from the United States to Spain. As of right now, you need to have a negative PCR test, proof of vaccination, or proof of recovery from COVID-19. If you have any of the three, you will be allowed to enter Spain. So I like to use Google to get this information, but just to be on the safe side, if I want to travel to Mexico and I'm in Spain right now, I'm going to contact the Mexican embassy in Spain and double check if the information that I found on Google is actually current. So what I do is I go to their webpage and I submit the form, and usually within 24 to 48 hours I receive a response. If you can't wait 24 to 48 hours, what you can do is give them a call during business hours, obviously. Once the embassy confirmed the current COVID restrictions and entry requirements, it is time to start preparing for your trip. So, for instance, if you need a negative PCR test in order to enter a country, this is only going to be valid for 48 to 72 hours before departure. So, you need to schedule an appointment with a testing center and make sure that you get the result back within the time frame. If you're going to get vaccinated, then make sure you do it on time. Depending on the country you're looking to travel to, you have to wait from 14 to 30 days before you can enter the country. So if you have received your shot today and you want to travel to that country, you have to wait at least 14 to 30 days. In order to get a certificate of recovery from COVID-19, you will have to go to a testing center to draw your blood and to determine whether you have the antibodies. You also want to check how long your vaccine is valid for. If it's already been 9 months, 10 months, 12 months since you have received your shots, chances are your vaccine is no longer valid and you are required to get a booster. So the process that I've been explaining is really all about getting the information, validating the information, and then doing it. Make sure to plan ahead of time. If you want to avoid all this stuff, you can travel to countries without COVID restrictions. Countries like Mexico, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica don't require much at all. You don't need to wear a mask outdoors. You can visit the country on a tourist visa. You don't need a PCR test. You don't need to be vaccinated. You don't need to quarantine. That holds true for Latin countries. Things look very different on the other side of the world. Most Asian countries do not allow tourists right now. So even if you are vaccinated, even if you are willing to do the PCR test, you're still not allowed into the country. Thailand is pretty much the only country that you can visit in Southeast Asia at this point in time. And only if you're willing to comply with the COVID restrictions. Here are my final thoughts. I mean, really think about it. Is it worth traveling right now? Where will you go and how open is the place? And like I said, you have to understand that it's not going to be the same as it was 2 years ago. Businesses are closed. You need to play by the rules. Can you even get in? Make sure to check the entry requirements and prepare ahead of time. Check if you can go there on a regular tourist visa or what other visa is available that you could apply for in order to get into the country. And another super important point, which I almost forgot to mention, is make sure you know what you need in order to get back into your country. You don't want to end up like many Australians. Australia locked out their own citizens. What else do you need to travel during COVID? Is there anything that I forgot to mention? Is this really a good time to travel abroad? What are your thoughts? Leave a comment below and let us know. I shot a video on the best countries without COVID restrictions, some of the best places to visit for digital nomads. If you want to enjoy COVID restriction-free travel, then I highly recommend you watch the video that appears here. Make sure to subscribe. I'm uploading new content on digital nomad locations, visas, and everything you need to know about traveling during COVID. Thank you for watching.